The Road Home by Penstroke, Chapter 8. Who? What? I don't know. Nix would deny it. She pictured her first night of official camping going differently. Yes, there was a campfire, and there were some old logs for seats. The stars were twinkling above, and the sympathy of the forest and the night serenaded them in the background. Spike was next to her, chewing on a cheap gem, while she had been provided an apple and some leafy greens for dinner. All those things worked with her expectations. Flim and Flam, however, replaced the ponies she would have wanted going camping with, and any sort of fun activities were replaced with the brothers calculating their profits. Flim was keeping careful records, taking notes on each gem, while Flam did the levitation. The pair had dumped every gem out of the wagon when they made camp, were now working to return the trove of jewels back to the cart piece by piece. "We nearly passed the double line, brother of mine," Flim said, grinning ear to ear as he finished writing down the estimated value of a particularly large gem. He was using his magic to write, burning numbers quickly onto the page with a focused beam of magic, instead of ink or quill. It was probably a very useful skill to develop for a traveling sales pony, or for a cheapskate that didn't want to waste money on ink and quills. Nix was trying to decide which was true for the Flim and Flam brothers. "You two were really a struggle good person," Flam said, glancing over at Spike and Nix as he continued levitating the lucrative gems in a conga line past Flim. "You've easily increased our profits by 50%, or maybe even 75%, Flam said.
"Isn't it more important that we saved you from facing a mob of angry diamond dogs?"
Nix asked as he munched on the dinners he had been provided. Flim smiled, as if Nix had said an amusing joke. "Oh, I'm sure we would have managed. We always do," Flam said, the grin on his face matching his brother's. Spike rolled his eyes, took a bite of what had been one of the cheapest gems from the pile, and spoke through his full mouth.
"Yeah, criminals like you always manage to get away until you don't."
Flam's mustache flickered a little, and he glared down at Spike from across the campfire. "We are not con artists. We are entrepreneurs and inventors, the creators of great and wonderful inventions that will better the lives of every pony across Equestria. You're as deluded as your miracle elixir," Spike said, before taking another bite from his gem. The conversation fell there, burning away in the pops and crackles of the campfire. Spike was content to stare into the distance and chew his gem. Flim and Flam focused on their gem counting, both parties choosing to simply ignore one another. It was a situation that made Nix frown, but one she did not try to remedy until her dinner was over. After eating the last bite of greens, she tossed the napkin that had been onto her plate into the fire. Without a meal to distract her, Nix's mind wandered to stories that Twilight had told her about the infamous brothers.
"How did it tell if an apple was good or bad?"
The sudden break in silence made Flam turn his head away from the gemstone levitation line.
"Sorry, didn't guess that."
"In your cider machine, how did it tell if an apple was good or bad?"
Flam looked at the gems, remaining silent before deciding to answer.
"It was a comparison enhancement. We created some magical templates of different varieties of apples, and the spell made the comparison. If the apple didn't match any of the templates sufficiently, the apple was rejected and dropped by a pair of multiple conveyor belts."
"And how did it make the cider?"
Flam shrugged, as if the question was simply simple.
"Same way Applejack and her family make cider. It used a grinding wheel."
"So then what?"
"Now hold on there, kid,"
Flim said, settling down the scroll while he was using to tally their profits. Flam also returned the uncounted gems back to the pile on the ground.
"Our Super Speedy Cider Speedy 6000 is one-of-a-kind machine and full of trade secrets. You can't just go asking about every detail of the design, not unless you are willing to pay for it."
Spike furrowed his brow and motioned to Nix with a claw.
"How exactly is she supposed to pay? We don't have any bits."
Flim and Flam took a seat by the fire, the pair glancing at each other with confident smiles, before looking back at their unexpected guests.
"Well, we do have a few questions of our own we like to ask, so how about we make it a fair trade? We'll answer a question if you answer a question."
"That seems fair,"
Nix said, cutting out Spike who wanted to say something. That something, however, will remain unsaid as Flim and Flam didn't waste a moment.
"So, now that we all know exactly where we stand, let's get this little mystery off the table," Flim said. "Now, we've all been talking, comparing notes. We just want to verify one little thing. Are you the Nightmare Moon that took over Equestria last summer? And remember, be truthful, because you can't call on a con pony, Flam said.
Nyx flattened her ears, but after a few moments nodded her head.
Yeah, I'm the same pony. But I'm not like that anymore.
Oh, we don't doubt that, Flim said, though he and Flim were still smiling. I doubt any pony with a mean streak like that would have let herself be caught by diamond dogs. That, and you did say you're tagging along with this little fire starter, Flim motioned to Spike, who stuck his tongue out at the stallion. And we know he's in close with Princess Twilight, so, second question.
But, isn't it my turn?
Flim wagged his hoof, as if lecturing a musty younger pony. Now, you got to ask 2 questions first. We're just staring out the books. Now, you're still a full-blooded alicorn, correct? You aren't just a unicorn with wings after getting zapped and rainbowed or whatever turned you back into the mare that was taking over Equestria?
I think so,
Nyx answered, so she didn't know for sure what Flim and Flam were trying to get at. Could a pony have wings and a horn without being an alicorn?
Wonderful! Now, in light of our heroism in assisting your escape, as well as the transportation and company we'll be providing to get you home, would you be willing to part with some of your feathers and a sample of your magic?
Hey, that's your 3rd question! Spike snapped, while pointing an accusing claw at the brothers.
Flam shrugged his shoulders. Why ruin the momentum? Besides, if the kid here agrees to our little request, we'll let her ask all the questions she wants.
Spike hopped down from his seat and log and stopped towards the brothers. What do you want to stuff?
Sorry, trade secret,
the brothers said in perfect unison, as if the phrase was one they knew by heart. Spike gritted his teeth and formed a fist with one claw. But he didn't throw a punch. He just turned back to face Nyx. Don't give these crooks a thing!
Oh, why don't you relax and take a break for the bossy dragon routine? I hear nothing outwines a dragon like fire.
Flim used a little shove of magic to knock Spike into the fire pit. Spike made a small yelp, but otherwise unharmed. Oh, don't I know it. I mean, taking a bath of fire is the perfect way to relax.
Princess Ember? You're here too?
Hey, it seems like every time you start liking a new character on the show, they pop up in the studio. You know, that's kind of true. His fireproof scales provided all the protection he could need as he got up and dusted himself clean of the ashes. Nyx glanced back and forth between Flim, Flam, and Spike, but then focused on the brothers.
You have to tell me why you want it before I'll give it to you.
Now, kid, it isn't your turn to ask a question.
I didn't ask a question. I made a statement.
The brothers glanced at one another, then chuckled.
You got quick wit, kid, Flam said. It's all about magic. Every kind of pony has a different kind of magic. But in alicorns, that magic gets all mixed together. It becomes more powerful and more potent. That's the kind of thing they really put to kick into our magical inventions. Now, we'll admit, we tried to recreate the mixture, but never quite got the ratio right. That's why we like to try to get a baseline.
Nyx eyed the brothers before glancing at Spike. He was shaking his head, as if trying to wave her off from her actions. Her curiosity was getting the better of her. She had a dozen questions she wanted to ask, but one in particular was burning her mind.
I'll agree if you two answer my next question honestly.
Flim glanced at Flam. Flam glanced at Flim. Then together they smiled and nodded.
Bam!
Nyx nodded her head and returned.
Okay, why don't you two sell good inventions instead of junk?
The smile on the brothers' faces quickly fell into frowns.
What do you mean by that?
Flim asked.
Twilight told me about your siren machine. You two tried to put Applejack's family out of business with it, but the machine itself sounded amazing. Twilight is really good at magic, but she admitted she wasn't impressed. She said that you two had to be very talented magical engineers to put together a device like that, capable of so operating autonomously on raw unicorn magic. But after that, all you two seem to be doing is trying to cheat, Nyx continued. You made that fake elixir, and just today you tried to sell those faulty gem gauges. Would it have been really that much more difficult to make them work right in the first place? I mean, you were able to give me and Spike instructions on how to fix the gauges. Wasn't you just sold something that really works in the first place?
Flim stood up and picked up the scroll, intending to return his gem counting.
Listen, kid. We learned our lesson after the super speedy Sire Squeegee 6000. We put everything we had into that machine, and Pony still went and chased us off. Doing it right isn't worth the time and effort.
That's your own fault, Spike said, raising his voice. Sure, the machine was great, but you two were horrible. You were trying to steal Epitech's business away.
We offered her a chance for a partnership.
At 25% when her family's were the ones growing the apples? You two were just greedy, and trust me, a dragon knows greed when he sees it.
Flim rolled his eyes. You two are just too young to understand. Come on, Flam. We have these gems to be counted before we go to bed. Be right there, brother of mine,
Flam said, getting up from his seat at the fire. His eyes lingered on Nix and Spike a moment. Then he twisted his mustache and frowned. He turned around and resumed his task of levitating the gems, so Flim could continue on his tally. Spike just shook his head at the pair, while Nix continued to watch, a small frown on her own lips. Maybe the answer had been honest, but that didn't mean she had to like it. The shuffling of dirt went unnoticed in the changeling outpost. The gentle crumbling from the ceiling was seen by none in the empty tunnel. A hole formed, just wide enough for the smallest of mice, but it steadily grew as tiny paws scraped the edges. First came a wet canine nose, then the head of a dog, not bigger than the loaf of a pony bread. But at the moment, the diamond dog's size was to his advantage. Biscuit turned his head around, checking the tunnel for any sign of life before he dropped from the ceiling. He landed quietly, with only a few crumbs of dirt and pebbles announcing anything that had happened at all. Still, Biscuit did not linger in the middle of the floor. He darted for the wall, ducking behind a stalagmite.
"Brownies!"
he whispered, as he craned his neck and propped up one of his fluffed ears open with a paw. There was no reply. Biscuit straight back behind the stalagmite, growling and gritting his teeth.
White Biscuit wasn't worried about ponies. Ponies wasn't worried about him. So go back to Duke. Tell him where ponies are. Then we come take ponies back.
The growling Biscuit's throat died.
But ponies likely escape before we come. Then where is Biscuit? He has no gems, and Mad Duke. Biscuit help ponies. He might get more gems. Duke still be mad, but who care? Biscuit have gems. But where ponies?
Biscuit sniffed the air.
I know they're here. I can smell them. That and smoke. Changeling stinks of burning from all their fiery disguise magic.
With a snort and a shake of his head, Biscuit took a single step out from behind the stalagmite. A plume of green light in the distant tunnel, however, made him quickly retreat into hiding. He heard the clicking of hooves, and soon a single changeling came striding down the tunnel. To Biscuit, it was like any other changeling. It had holes in the legs that looked like a bug that needed to be squashed. What interested Biscuit was the sound accompanying the changeling's steps. He or she was wearing saddlebags, and they were clicking. It was a musical sound to the diamond dog. It sounded like gems, 2 whole bags full of them. A smile played at Biscuit's lips, even as he hugged the back of the stalagmite, assuring he wouldn't be seen as the changeling slowly passed. Biscuit went unnoticed, the changeling continuing down the tunnel with flat, tired expression. Biscuit waited until the changeling was almost out of sight. Then he made his move. He moved to another stalagmite, and then another. He stalked the changeling, grinning as the clicking sound continued to serenade him.
Must be a dozen gems. Diamonds? No, rubies and emeralds.
Biscuit whispered.
Ponies can wait. Must see why Changeling has gems. Maybe they have more. Maybe Biscuit could help himself to a few, or as many as he could carry.
Changelings didn't need gems anyway, not like ponies or diamond dogs. The changeling descended a set of steps, going into a lower tunnel before taking the right turn. Biscuit lingered at the top of the steps for just a moment, then sprinting down before presenting himself against the wall. He peeked around the corner for just a moment, then retreated back again. He licked his nose and swallowed a knot in his throat, before finding the courage to peek again. The room beyond was filled with changelings, dozens of them. They were all facing a single raised platform, where one changeling was pacing back and forth as in deep thought. On the far wall was a great deal of changeling goo that had been smeared into shapes and pictures. It looked like the work of some young pup to Biscuit, speaking of no artistic talent. He couldn't even tell what some of the pictures were supposed to be, if they were supposed to represent anything.
Aha!
The sudden shout of the changeling on the platform made Biscuit retreat back into his corner, as if he had been seen. Yet, when he didn't hear the telltale stampede of changelings in pursuit, Biscuit dared to look again. The lead changeling was smearing the goo on the wall around, making a picture. To Biscuit, it looked like a gyro choking on a broom. Well, to make the ponies eat hay until they are stupid like the scarecrows on their fields. Then we'll use them as scarecrows. We'll put them in the fields of Lumberton, and they will spy on their own kind for the glorious the hive! But what if they don't like haze? One of the changelings in the swarm asked. Changeling on the platform cursed. It threw a glob of glue at the one that had spoken up. Curses! You're right! The scarecrow plans lies too heavily on them having an insatiable hunger for hay! We must think of something else! What are you doing now? A new voice was from another changeling, one that was climbing up onto the platform with the first. It was the one Biscuit had been talking to. He could tell by the saddlebags it wore. That, and he was able to notice a few other differences now that he saw the two changelings standing next to one another. One he had been following was shorter than the others, like a teenager talking to an adult. Ah, S-43, I trust your mission was successful. The artistically challenged changeling licked his lips as an exciting cheering began to come from the rest of the swarm. The smaller changeling just rolled his eyes, but levitated off its saddlebags and opened the flaps. Biscuit was excited for a moment, but the feeling died quickly. The gems he thought he heard were really snow globes. Dozens of snow globes that glowed with a pink hue. Yes, I got dinner, the bag-carrying changeling said. His voice was an octave higher. Perhaps it was female. That's how diamond dogs would work. And Biscuit couldn't think of a reason why the changelings couldn't be the same. Excellent! Come, my fellow drones of Outpost S! Let us feast! The lead changeling took the bag and began tossing out snow globes to the clamoring crowd. Each snow globe thrown was promptly caught and opened, then released the pink energy from within, forming explosive clouds that the changelings began to dance in. They sipped on the clouds. They are stupider than ponies, Biscuit said, sniffing and quickly seizing out a bit of pink haze. It smelled like music, which was a mind-boggling message for him to process. Yet that was what his mind had came up with, based on the mist scent. It smelled of music, and the confusion only further diminished Biscuit's interest. No gems, strange smelling smoke, and he was quickly getting ready to slip away, search to hide for the ponies, when he heard the smaller changeling speaking again. Now, care to tell me what this is all about again? We are trying to decide what to do with the captives! The smaller changeling blinked, then groaned and shook her head. I thought I told you, squirrels don't count as captives. The squirrels will meet their destined doom! This I swear to you, S-43s! S1 said as he cracked open a snow globe of his own. The pink cloud exploded onto his face. As a Fallout fan, the word pink cloud scares me. But he drank out the mist quickly, before closing up the snow globe and tossing it back to S-43. But no, this time we have captives far more valuable than squirrels! We have ponies! S-43 dropped the snow globes he was levitating, barely managed to cast a spear of glass before it smashed against the ground. You caught ponies? Yes, 4 of them! They were coming down the trail. We were out on our daily spider form exercises, and they're real special. 2 of them have wings and horns. S-43 brought her forehose to S1's neck. For a moment, Biscuit thought he was going to see a bug squash another bug, but S-43 only went as far to assure she had S1's attention. You caught princesses? Have you reported to Queen Chrysalis? Oh, short, stupid! S-43, S1 said, patting it on the head before freeing it from her hose. Our mission here is to continue Operation Street Sweeping! That is all our beautiful, tall, and wise queen cares about. If we weren't calling her up for every little troop movement and every pony event, we'd be laughing stocks on the other outposts! But you cut princesses! What color were they? S1 shrugged as he took another snow globe and let another cloud of pink envelop his face. I don't know. I think one was pink and the other one was gray. No, maybe that was the purple one. The gray one was the stupid dot pony. Cadence in Twilight. You caught Cadence in Twilight? S-43 stared dumbfounded. trying to find words as the changelings all around her just reveled in the snow globes he had brought. Dizzy bolted, flying over the swarm and straight to where Biscuit was hiding. Biscuit managed to duck back behind his corner before she got too close, pressing himself against the wall as it attempted to become nothing more than dog-colored graffiti. The changeling called S-43 bolted past him, racing down the tunnel before making a left turn into an adjoining cavern. There was more clattering and clanking, and once more the sound was reminding Biscuit of gems. Perhaps he had simply been away from jewels for far too long, but he couldn't deny his curiosity. He quickly bolted down to the opening to the larger cavern. He ran down the tunnel until he was arms away where S-43 had disappeared. A green glow was now emanating from within, and as Biscuit looked inside, it was very easy for him to see the source. A large green crystal ball, looking to be nothing more than gored glass, sat on a pedestal. Within its smooth surface, cloudy shapes were swirling until a figure took shape. "Who is it?" The voice was from the crystal, though Biscuit could not make out who was speaking. Tensely, S-43 was blocking his view, and he could clearly hear the conversation going on. Disorder Tensely saluted the spear. "Central Hive, this is Sierra 43 of Outpost Sierra Force reporting in. I have important news for the Queen. Please, I need a direct connection."
Only S1 can request a direct connection to Her Majesty. What is so important that you think you could take up some of your Queen's precious time?
"We captured 2 high-value targets."
A snort came from the spear.
What? Has Outpost S captured another army of squirrels bent on disrupting your precious mission?
"No, it's not squirrels. We have..."
Whatever it is, S-43, you need to follow the rules. Outpost S is only to report progress on Operation Sugar Sap every few months. The Queen will hear all about your captives in a few weeks. Central Hive out.
"No, wait, we have thee!"
The spear went dark before S-43 could say another word. For a moment, everything was still. S-43 lost her hose on the spear, resting her weight against the once glowing orb. Biscuit did duck back a bit, only keeping one eye peeked around the corner, as he heard a deep growl coming from the changeling. Like fire tossed on gunpowder, she began to rampage. Bursts of magic, unsavory words, bugs, and kicks flowed through her body like a rolling explosion. She hit the spear, the wall, the ceiling, and the floor. Nothing in the chamber was properly damaged, but the scorch marks from her magic let smoldering tails of smoke into the air.
"Fine! You want to treat me like that? Maybe I should help the ponies escape! What would Central Hive think about that? Maybe then you'd bother to remember the name of the useless mission you put us on!"
S-43 screamed, before sending another blast of magic at the orb. The changeling then began to calm, taking deep breaths as he continued to stare down the crystal ball. It's like she was waiting for it to give her another excuse to blast it. Biscuit watched this, the gears in his brain spinning. He had an idea. It was crazy, it was foolish, yet it was probably the fastest way for him to save the ponies. And the faster he saved them, the more gems they were likely to give. It was as if every second wasted was another precious gem being taken from his possible reward. So, to maximize his payment, Biscuit stepped out from his corner.
You really want to help ponies?
S-43 spun around, glaring down at the unexpected intruder. Biscuit waved a smile back, and immediately began regretting aspects of his decision.
We got them!
Those 3 words were better than any alarm clock for waking Flim and Flam. The 2 brothers bolted it up and ignored the dirt and leaves in their mane as they scrambled to their hooves. With a spark of magic, Flim brought new life to the campfire, tossing on several logs, while Flam quickly rushed back to check the cart. All the gems were accounted for. Not one was out of place. Yet, in the light of the renewed fire, the 2 could see exactly who was shouting those 3 hated words and why. A pack of diamond dogs had came into their camp, but their interest was not in the cart gems. If it had been, the brothers' security spells would have set off. Instead, they saw a few of the dogs holding Nix and Spike, signaling their protests. At the same time, 2 of the pack, A particularly large dog and a long, lean, narrow-snouted one approached the brothers.
Gentle dogs,
Flam said, forcing a smile.
is there something I can help you with?
Did you help these two escape then?
The long-snouted diamond dog asked, a deep snarl in each word. He pointed back at Nix and Spike, but never took his eyes off the brothers.
Them? We've never seen them before in our lives,
Flim said, sounding like a defendant on the witness stand.
Then why were they sleeping by your fire?
Flam laughed, smiled, and then laughed again.
Why, there is a very plain and logical explanation for that, isn't there, Flam? But of course,
Flam responded, smoothing his mustache with a bit of magic.
They must have escaped from your den on their own and stowed away in our cart.
The long-snouted dog leaned in close, glaring down the two brothers for several long seconds before finally turning away.
Right, then you won't care if we take them back with us.
Not at all. Please, feel free to take them wherever you want. I hear Winnieland is wonderful this time of year. Lovely weather and no lines. Isn't that right, Flam? Yes, of course,
Flam answered back. His eyes flicked away from the lean dog. It was mostly for the rest of the pack to follow him. He looked at Nix and Spike. Spike was daggers at them, struggling with all his strength against his captor's grip. The diamond dog in question, however, had a glove on his paw he was using to hold Spike's mouth. Though Flam couldn't be sure from a distance, he guessed it was something fireproof. Still, without saying a word, Spike was accusing the brothers of being exactly what he thought they were all along. Nix's gaze was not as aggressive, but was just as punishing if not more. Her eyes kept flicking back and forth between the brothers, pleading for them to do something. There was no accusation, no anger, just a plea for them to do the right thing. Normally, such eyes would not face the fast-talking Flim Flam brothers. They turned away ponies with the same eyes who were asking for refunds. But this time, a lingering of what Nix said earlier was picking at the back of Flam's brain.
What? Wait!
The dogs all stopped, turned back around. Flam was looking at his brother like his head just popped like a confetti-filled balloon.
Why wait?
The long-snouted dog asked innocent.
I have something to admit,
Flam said, taking a step forward. He hung on half of that word for a moment, looking across all diamond dogs. He then abruptly turned his head and pointed an accusing hoof at Flim.
My brother helped us to escape. I did no such thing!
Flam snapped back. The two brothers turned to face one another. Flim was facing down Flam with an honest confusion, but the mustached brother didn't offer a word in reply. He motioned with his eyes once, then winked with his right eye. Flim understood the message, and the horrified expression on his face made it clear. He shook his head once, trying to stop what Flam was doing. Flam, however, had already turned back to the diamond dogs.
Yes, I saw my brother talking to those two while we were selling our great gem gauges. He must have been promising to smuggle them out of the city. Please, good sirs, take him with you and teach him why it is so unwise to cross such mighty and powerful diamond dogs.
Flim stopped a few steps forward. The brothers were now face to face on either side of the fire. They began to circle, horns glowing threateningly with magic.
Take me! Take him for being such a liar! I can't believe my own brother would besmirch my honor like this! Why, I bet you were the one that helped them, and now you're just trying to pawn me off on these dogs, so you can take all our gems for yourself! Are you calling me a thief, if the mustache fits?
Flam stepped back. Flam's magic flared, and several gems were taken from the cart. He circled them around his body, like a threatening maelstrom of stones.
I'll teach you, you back alley burger!
Flam did the same. The two brothers were now circling the fire, as they threatened one another with a bludgeoning of gemstones.
You couldn't sell seltzer to a sad clown to save your life!
Flam launched one gem forward. Flam jerked his head to the left, allowing the gem to zip past, and embedded itself in one of the drains near the campsite.
Should we stop them, Duke?
The largest dog asked, laughing out the drool that tried to escape his mouth on each syllable. The long-snouted dog, Duke, held up a paw and shook his head. He was watching the developing fight with a big grin, as if finding first entertainment in seeing two ponies going after one another. Flam used his magic to put several gems into a single, large wrecking ball of crystal. All it took then was a surge of magic to drive the spear at Flam's head. The clean-shaven brother ducked, rolled, and shot a few more of his gems at Flam.
You fight like my sister!
He taunted as he picked himself off the ground.
We have the same sister!
Flam stepped back as he took another swing with the wrecking ball. And she fights better than you, so I'll take that as a compliment. Flam began calling out on more and more gems from the cart, creating a swarm of crystals that swirled through the air with a murderous intent. You can't hope to win, brother! I've always been better at magic. I believe you're confused, brother of mine. The only thing you're good at is running your mouth. Flim began levitating more into gems as well. Between the two brothers, they had emptied the cart and were holding their entire hoard of jewels above their heads. I am the master of magic between the two of us? Really? Are you ready to put your money where your mouth is? I'll gladly shove every one of these precious jewels down your throat! The brothers stopped circling the campfire. Their stance parallel to the line of diamond dogs that were watching the involving fight. Some were whispering between the other, taking bets on who would win. Duke was just wearing a big grin as he watched with his forearms crossed, like a ruler watching gladiators fight in his arena. No more talking! Flam furrowed his brow. Flim cracked his neck. No more insults! Now we settle this! The two spoke in unison as he turned their heads to look at the dogs. The smile fell from the Duke's face, but before he could bark in order, the brothers' travel sprung. Flim and Flam started hurling their hoard of gems. The first volley knocked several dogs out with swift blows to the head. Those that remained began to scramble and dove for cover. Next his spike were released, and immediately the two sprinted behind Flim and Flam. No! Don't let them get out! Oh! Duke tried to shout, but the moment he dared poke his head from behind his arms, a gem smacked him square in the eye. He tumbled backward into the largest dog's arms, and quickly began to carry Duke back. They joined the other dogs to retreat, the whole pack quickly disappearing into the night. Ha! That's right! Run home with your tails between your legs! Flam shouted. He turned to Flam, grinning about the victory, until he saw the deep frown on his brother's face. Flam forced a smile a little bigger. Your performance was marvelous, brother! Really, it was! I truly felt like you wanted to break my nose with a gem equal or greater size! Oh, I wasn't acting that part, Flim said as he began to return the unthrown gems to the cart. What were you thinking? They were just going to take those two and leave! We were off the hook! Why go and make yourselves part of the situation? Well, we don't know for certain if the magic sample we'll get for the kid is going to be very potent. I mean, look at her. She's so short, but Princess Twilight is a good, strong adult alicorn, and I imagine she'll be very grateful we returned those two unharmed. Why not hedge our bets and get some additional samples? If we can finally crack the secret to alicorn magic, and won't it be worth 100 cards of gems? I just want to pause here and say, guys, I really want somebody to do a fanfic of Road to El Dorado starring the Flim Flam brothers. Oh, look at that! I can see the poster in my head. It's hilarious. I hope you're right, brother, because we have now officially lost these profits! Flim called on his magic, pulling a pair of rough and worn saddlebags from the cart. Those dogs were going to be back, and we're not going to stay ahead of them, even with a self-propelling cart. So now help me gather the most profitable percentage of our profits before those dogs come back. Let me lend you a claw. Flim and Flam went over, seeing Spikey come down to the cart, was now picking through the pile of gems. I am a dragon after all. I can spot the best gems faster than any pony. Okay, me and the dragon will worry about gems. Flim walked over to the cart, beginning to levitate a few of the gems he knew were high value from the inventory he had done earlier. You and the kid get the fire out and make some fire tracks. Maybe that will buy us some time before the diamond dogs come and make us regret our little show. We'll get right on that, brother. Flam laughed a little, feeling the feel leave his system. For a moment there, he said, directing his head slightly in Nix's direction. I thought he was actually going to break my nose. He then looked at Nix. The small filly was wearing a very happy and perhaps smug smile. What are you grinning about?
Oh, nothing,
Nix said, trying to reel in her smile but failing.
So, how do we make fire tracks?
Well, you've got to start walking off into the forest in some direction. I'll levitate us back to the camp. We just need to do that a few times, he said, turning and starting the process. Nix followed behind, still grinning in a way that was almost infectious.
So, you and Flynn said I could ask all the questions I wanted earlier, but then you two went back to carrying gems. Can I ask some of my other questions now?
Flam sighed, but nodded his head.
Sure, kid. Just don't fall behind. We want to make at least 3 fake trails before my brother and the dragon finish loading the bags.
Spike. His name is Spike, and mine is Nix.
I'll try to remember that. Now, what did you want to ask?
What's the first thing you and your brother invented together?
Now, you will tell me everything I want to know, or suffer my never-ending wrath!
The changeling leader hissed, the blinding cone of light from his horn flashing in Twilight's face. She winced and looked away, though briefly a brightly colored spot still dancing behind her eyelids.
I can't answer my questions when I can't see,
Twilight said.
Lies!
The changeling leader bellowed.
I know for a fact that ponies do not require their eyes for thinking or speaking. Such a trick might work on these lesser changelings, but I am too smart for such tactics. You use your eyes for seeing and for conveying a secret messages. It says so in this intelligent booklet my drones intercepted from one of your multi-scouting parties.
The changeling held up a booklet in question. What was in effect a Mayor's Fashion magazine. The biggest headline on the front cover, next to a picture of a Pegasus with particularly large and feathery wings.
Flurry? Is that you?
Was
the 10 secrets your stallion's eyes are telling you.
Twilight looked at Shining, Keynes, and Maud. She had been taken a few feet away from the others, singled out while still being kept in the same room. Maud's face was emotionless as always. Keynes and Shining, on the other hand, mimicked Twilight's own confused expression.
Do not look away from me, ponies!
The changeling used his magic to turn Twilight's head back forward.
Now tell me, what is the purpose of your mounted scouting parties? Have you uncovered Operation Sweet Weapon? What is the secret to their patrol routine? Why do they frequently stop in the night to sing and cook all things called s'mores?
Are you talking about hikers?
Ah! So that's what you call them! High kickers! Are they especially trained to kick objects very high? What are their offensive and defensive capabilities? Tell me!
The changeling leaned in, uncomfortably close, eyelid twisting as he entered an unofficial staring contest with Twilight. They aren't high kickers, Twilight said as he craned her head back, trying to establish her personal space. They are hikers and campers. They're in the mountains to have fun. They aren't on any mission.
You cannot deceive me! Your intelligence booklets
clearly indicate
you ponies dislike sweat, and all those scouting parties do is walk in sweat, and eat those mushy, disgusting s'mores. No right-minded creature withers stays for entertainment!
Dinner time! The changeling in front of Twilight winced and turned to glare at another sword changeling that was coming to the room.
S-43, how dare you interrupt me during my interrogation? I am this close to cracking the secrets of the high kickers.
The word is hikers!
Silence, you!
The lead changeling snapped, glaring back at Twilight a moment before reducing his aggression back at the changeling, called S-43.
Now, explain yourself!
You want the captives to be alive long enough for you to interrogate, don't you? Then they need dinner. Don't worry, it's the lowest of their food. It's hay.
S-43 approached Keynes, Shining, and Maud, using her magic to levitate 3 masses of hay into the range of the trio's mouth.
I'll wait until you're done with the purple one before feeding her.
Well, good. You do that, and do it quietly. The art of interrogation is a high and delicate one, and a master must not be disturbed.
Yes, sir, S1s.
The changeling leader, S1, made a grunt as he nodded his head once. They looked back at Twilight, grinning.
Now, pony, you will tell me your most prized and guarded secrets.
He paused a moment, clicking his lips and rotating a small trail of goo on his face. It made Twilight grimace and shiver.
What do ponies love more?
S1 said, nearly shouting in Twilight's ear.
Is it pancakes with syrup, or is it waffles with syrup?
No, no more. I can't take any more. I'll tell you anything. Really, just let me go. I can't imagine suffering such tortures. Twilight S1 turned and looked at Maud. Twilight was extremely confused. Maud had grown up with Pinkie Pie. If anything, S1's line of questioning was laughable. But it could not have been as torturous as some of the things the young, energetic Pinkie Pie had done. Sorry, I just got non-flashbacks. Well, maybe it was a little painful, but that's because of how moronic the questions were. Yet, Maud had said the words, plainly and clearly, and now S1 was wearing a maniacal grin.
Yes, they did, pony.
Tell me your secrets.
S1 said, quickly crossing the room to Maud. S43 was still feeding Cadence and Shining, but stepped out of the way so S1 could get right in Maud's face. I will tell you everything, Maud said, as he was truly scared of panic, so he expressed it with the same air as he expressed any other emotion. Still, Twilight was baffled, and only grew more so when Maud continued speaking. Would you like to know how to decipher the secret messages encoded in common baseball games? S1's eyes lit up. Of course! Why else would so many ponies do such a boring activity? Yes, that pony. Tell me the secrets of those messages. It's all about what ponies play what positions. We'll start with first base. Maud answered, meeting S1's intense glare with her own, unflinching, almost unblinking gaze. Who is on first? Who is on first? S1 asked. Exactly. S1 blinked, Maud chattering a moment before he raised his voice. That pony! You will tell me the name of the pony on first base so I can know its significance! Who? Do not play games with me, that pony! You are claimed to have this knowledge, and now you will share it with me or face my wrath! You know the name of this pony on the first base of first, correct? Yes, Maud answered. And what is his name? What is on second base? Do not taste the subject, that pony! We are discussing the first base, and only the first base! Though there may be three of them on the field in this asinine game. We shall focus on one and only one. We will focus on the base of first, and the name of the pony there. For the name of the pony there holds a great secret. Now, who's on first? Exactly. Once more, S1's mouth tittered. He turned and stepped away from Maud, doing 2 circles before stopping back up to her. At this moment, S43 fists feeding Cadence and Shining, was now making her way towards Twilight. Listen, that pony! You will tell me the truth, plain and simply. If you do not so now, you may be spared my wrath. Who was on first? Why are you asking me? S1 shouted. Bits of teasely glue flying from his mouth to spatter onto Maud's face. It is you with the secrets! It is you who knows the code hidden in the names of the players on their bases! This is information I do not have, but you do. You will tell me to me. That way, I no longer need to know the secret. Now, tell me, tell me, tell me! Who is on first base? I don't know! She's on third base. S1's eye twitched. His mouth tittered, and he once more stomped away from Maud. He was kicking and stomping at the dirt. Twilight's view at this, however, was blocked as Changeling 43 stepped into her field of view. Changeling levitated a particularly large mass of hay in front of Twilight's mouth. Twilight was about to take a bite. She was hungry, but stopped when she noticed a little wet nose sticking up from the pile. Biscuit? Twilight whispered. The small diamond dog poked his head from the large mass of hay, grinning. Yes! Biscuit is here to rescue you! This Changeling pony is going to help! But why was she? Twilight was unable to finish her question. Biscuit stuffed some hay into her mouth, silencing her question before husking her with a claw to his mouth. Shh! Pony! Loudmouth idiot must not suspect Biscuit is here! This one helps because the outpost is stupid! These changelings left too big an eggs or something! They come out stupid! Changeling Queen sent them here so they would not annoy her! Operation Sweet Sweep! It's big and distraction! But this one not stupid! She wants out! You promised to help her! She help us! She'll free you from this Figgy Sticks fiery stuff! Twilight finished chewing and swallowed a mouthful of hay before she had been given. How do we know we could trust her? She stuck Biscuit into her room, did she? Besides, what do you have to lose? Twilight glanced back at Maud, Cadence and Shining. S1 was still going back and forth with Maud, though it looked like Shining and Cadence were struggling to contain their own giggles. Still, while the four of them had thought up some ideas for their escape, none of them had been able to think of a way out of their magic inhibitors and wedding. And the longer they were here, the more she feared for Nixon and Spice's safety. Okay, it's a deal, Twilight said as he looked back to Biscuit and S43. So, when are you planning on escaping? Right now, Biscuit said, before stuffing more hay into Twilight's mouth. They returned to his hiding place within the mass of hay, while S43 took a step back. Twilight's view of Maud and S1 was unobstructed again. The changeling leader looked like he was going to explode from frustration within a few moments.
Listen, that pony! My patience is thin,
Eslan said as he pointed a threatening hoof at Maud.
I will ask you only one more time, and if you cross me, you will suffer. You will suffer wrath worse than your infamous moon and nightmares. Do you understand this?
Yes.
Good, good. Now, if I were on this baseball field, and I chose to throw the ball to the pony at first base, I'd be throwing it to who?
Naturally.
Aha! So, she is holding his name as naturally.
No.
Then who is on first?
Naturally. Eslan's mouth tittered so loud, with such force it looked like his jaw might pop off. He screamed in aggravation. Then turned and pointed himself at S-43.
You are prepared to great one for government and torture! I must go and check our attendance booklets to find out what the name of this pony on first base is!
The slightest grin formed on Ma's face. But what is on second? Why do I have this feeling that Maud mastered this routine? Because she and Pinky did it all the time together. With unfortunately Limey as the target. Driving Limey mad. Eslan took a step forward, pressing his nose against Ma's as he glared her down, with all the mouths he could muster.
You mock me, that pony, but you will tell me the secrets of the baseball field with your dying breath!
Eslan then spun around and stalked out of the room, cursing and mumbling under his breath. S-43 didn't make a move until Eslan had disappeared from sight. Then he set down the bundle of hay and began levitating. Biscuit sprung out and quickly ran to the teamer's exit to stand guard, while S-43 walked free to free Twilight from her cocoon.
Sorry I had to dog do the talking. If S1 heard me saying anything, he would have screamed for 5 minutes about how I was interrupting his work.
S-43 says he ripped open a long hole in the fake spider silk. Twilight fell out, shaking and stumbling her legs. They were tingling in several places, none of them being stuck in the same position for an extended period of time. Still, as Twilight Francis took out her hose, she looked up to the changeling that had helped them.
How did you know he stormed out?
That's how S1 always deals with some things that confuse him. He goes and takes the magic and scenes he has the other drones steal from the campers on the mountains.
S-43 answered, as he moved towards Cadence, Shining, and Maud. As he went to Maud, offering a sincere smile as he ripped open a cocoon.
But I've never seen someone confuse him like that before. What was that?
That was an acorn and marshmallow skit. Maud answered. She got out the cocoons calmly, and she had been sitting in a chair at Dennis's waiting room. Granny Pie had records of their performances. They were Pinkie Pie's favorite things to listen to when we were growing up.
I'm sorry! My mind is currently seeing Maud playing the record for little Pinkie Pie, who is right now staying on top of her hooves, wide-eyed, and listening to that while Marble is asleep. Oh!
I think Dad has one of the records, Shining said as S-43 tore open Cade's cocoon and began working on his. Do you remember, Twilight? It was the one about how 7 times 13 is equal to 28. You hated that record! Twilight nodded, the memory jumping back to the foreground of her mind. She can remember arguing with her father about how the record was doing the math wrong. He even got a chalkboard one day to show her, but that only made her frustrated. Their father was laughing the whole time. In hindsight, she could understand the comedic value, but at the same time it had been so advocating. Math was just not something you got wrong like that.
Yes, I did.
Twilight said as the numbness was replaced by the sensation of floor beneath her hooves. So, how do we get out of here?
We've just got to get to the entrance tunnel, S-43 said. That will put us right outside Lumberton.
Cadence frowned, looking at the tunnel entrance. But it has to be miles away. The changelings were carrying us in those strange spider forms for hours. S-43 shook her head. The mouse is slow and waited.
No, it's not. They caught you at the start of their spire calisthenics. After that, rather than drop you off, they carried you for the rest of their exercises.
At the same time they were carrying you. They were just running around in circles. The main entrance tunnel is just down the hall. 5 minutes, tops. I think I can understand why you're willing to help us now. That's all I said, feeling a strange twinge in the brain at the thought of having to deal with a whole swarm of changelings who thought and acted like us one. What about the inhibitors? Shining asked, tapping himself against the metal collar around his neck. S-43 lifted a hoof. Usually to press on the magical inhibitor until it simply popped 3. These things are older than dirt. The magic stopping ruins still work, but the locks are decrepit. If your hooves weren't bound, you'd probably been able to pull them off already. Still, we need to hurry back before... S-43 was cut off, but Biscuit came bounding towards the group. He left the Twilight's back, grasping her mane in one claw, as he used the other to point towards the chamber's entrance. Leader is coming back! Sorry, I just always wanted to do that thing. It sounds so interesting. Ha! You thought you could confuse me with that phony, but your intelligence booklets have told me the truth. The name of the first base player is called Let's Kissing, and second base is a little more convoluted, and S1 came around the corner, lowering the vacancy from his eyes. He looked across the group of freed ponies. Hey! He paused to roll to the magazine, like he was about to punch up a bad dog. What's going on in here? Run.